True or false? Yes. Let's talk about it. Hi everyone. Once again, thank you for your audience. Shout out to everybody that takes time to listen to my tickling, provoking, and I hope helpful thoughts. And I hope you take the debate further. So, is it true or is it false? I think this is a very touchy subject. I'm definitely going to ruffle a lot of feathers on this one. But as by nature of purposes to this podcast, it's about thought-provoking aspects and thoughts, deliberations, and so forth. So don't take it personal. And if you do, pretty much I don't care. It's a chance for you to think to think outside the box. So, true or false? Okay. This week, I compounded different arguments that challenged a certain position with regards aspects of to how we look at things and why we cannot look at things differently or why we shouldn't question stuff. And I think this morning, I then realized, no, I think the issue really is whether something is true or false. Let's just, I just did a bit of notes in the morning when I woke up, and I've decided to frame truths in three. There's selective truths. And if I link this to what I previously did in the previous one, you're delusional. It's your truth, but it's not necessarily true. Or there's some truth to it. Then there's truth based on your understanding. There's also truths that are also a function of misinformation. They're progressive truths that are still being built because there's no evidence that can say otherwise. And they're also truths because of inadequacy. There's just no source that can say otherwise, or there's very little information on a matter which makes it a truth until otherwise. Selective truths. Then there's false truths. Santa Claus. What Santa actually is, I don't want to get into it, but then it's not true. He doesn't come down a chimney. Tooth fairies, they come in all sorts depending on what your culture is. I think pensions are also a false truth because you're working toward resting and surviving on less money than you're actually making. So it's a false truth. And this one, particularly if you live in Europe, it's a continuous battle with regards whether the pension is going to be sufficient or not, and so forth. The reality, it's a false truth. I don't know. It's a very poor end to a compensated form of slavery. Let me not go too deep on that one. Then, for those who are faith-based, existing people, there is something they call for the sake of the saints. Much from where I come from, in my culture, there are certain truths that cannot be elaborated on, or even discussed, or even brought to the table, because they will unravel people's comfort. So, it is better for people to remain within the bounds of their ignorance. Okay, so. Yeah, for the sake of the saints. So then everybody gets to sleep at night. One obvious one is happy wife, happy life. That one. Is a married man. Yeah. Could be true. I don't know. Can you really make your wife happy? I just put that one in there just to... Okay, then there's solid truths. These are facts, reality. It's an actual state of affairs. This is proved fact, like beyond reasonable doubt. One can argue that, okay, within the bounds of the information that we have, but it's a solid truth. It's undeniable, man. The sun's going to shine. That's it, Humans die. Stuff like this, the grass is green. These are facts. They're unfavored. Whether you like it or not, it's truth. Whether you want to disregard it or not, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not, it's the truth. It's a solid truth. So we've got selective truths, we've got false truths, and we've got solid truths. This is sort of like the three categories I thought would be a working frame. But then there's a nature to any truth, you know. It can be multi-dimensional. You know, which means like it is proven from so many angles, okay? But normally, based on my little theory, I call it tripod. It should have like three aspects. It should be remaining as it is if you try it from three different angles. I'll get into that later. I don't know. There can be monodimensional. It can just be just that. You don't need more information to prove it, you know. Like I'm Tinashe. I guess, what more do you need? That's just it, you know. You know, and the truth is the truth despite the unit of measure. You know, it can be inches to centimeters. You know, like 6 inches is still 15 centimeters kind of scenario. You know, if you want to graduate in so many aspects, I don't know how else you can measure. Maybe distance of light, you can use sound, it will still tell you this is 60. There's so many scientifically viable means to prove that this is 6 inches. Right. But, you know, this is probably why there's three sides to every story. I often argue with people, I'm like, you know, the truth is really relative to who's saying it. And this is why we have courts. And in some courts, we even have four sides. We've got your side, the plaintiff, and then we've got the defendant who's saying, look, yeah, you know, within the reasonable means, I think I'm right. And then you bring in the advocates, you bring in a judge, and in some systems, you even have a jury. Then you even have witnesses to try and arrive at what actual truth is. So perspective and context and all these things, motive, these are sort of like the dimensions that will then build the truth, or will arrive at a point that will be agreed upon as the truth. So how is it true? Or how is it the truth? That's a question one can ask. Simple answer, can be proven. Yeah? It cannot just be a mere feeling or a sense of understanding. It cannot just, you know, just because you think so. No, you should be able to prove that it's the truth. That's what makes it the truth. So then, how do you test a truth? You know, this is a very uncomfortable, probably task for anybody or any system, because it involves trial, and it calls for discomfort, definitely, and a lot of horror, and a possibility of the truth of being not the truth. Shock, horror, lightning, blam, you know. So maybe most people don't want to get out of what they believe is true, whatever the case is. We can go back in time, you know. There was a time, I think, saying the earth was not flat got you killed, huh? It was an uncomfortable truth. So, but you have to test it, which is where based on my debates with different kinds of people this week, I came to a position to say, okay, you know what? There has to be a tripod effect in terms of determining how true your truth is. Okay, this is my philosophy to determining how true the truth is. I just call it a tripod scenario. It can only be true, okay, if its source, if in itself it can prove itself that it is what it is, what its main source is. And it can also only be true if there's an alternative source that supports the fact that it is what it is, okay? And the more it can be true when an opposing source fails to validate a position otherwise, or fails to disqualify it, okay? So you've got your main source, then you've got another source that is probably partially related or remotely or just adjacent or supportive somehow, but it's not the main source. Then there's something that says otherwise but fails to prove otherwise, thereby confirming that it is actually the truth. So a tripod, like, you know, think of a tripod. If cameras or something, I don't know what a tripod, what another example for a tripod, I don't want to go into that. But that brings balance. So from all these angles, you can then tell, okay, fine. Yeah, then this must be true, okay? There's so many tests. I just always refer to a litmus test in most things I say, because it's just going to say what it is, but there can be further tests to prove something is actually what it is, you know. That being said, probably let me give some rough examples. Yeah, these ones are going to be bad. It's whoever takes offense, that's not the intention, but it's just fact. That's the truth. Take, for example, if you want a tripod test, what is a male? You know, how do you know that Tinashe is male? Okay, first you're going to see genitalia or ding-a-ling. Okay, that's there, and then you are going to bring big nyashe, very very delicious dark-skinned woman, and Tinashe is aroused. You're like, he is male. Yeah, and then you may choose, but are you sure? Then you choose to probably find any cavity on his body and bring in sperm into his system, whether you want to put it through my ear or nose, whatever it is, and Tinashe doesn't fall pregnant. Therefore, Tinashe is a man. The actual source, genitalia. Oh yeah, okay. Alternative source, arousal. Okay. Opposing source, reproductive, an attempt to impregnate. That doesn't work. So we know that's a tripod. If you want to look at faith, the main source, which is a common source to everybody, is the Bible. I think we can use that. And then you've got archaeology supporting writers, be they spirit mediums or whatever, inspired writers that confirm the same thing, like all the information, data, physical and chemical, whatever. Then you've got opposing sources like the Quran. The Quran will tell you about Jesus Christ. It will confirm that, you know. I think amongst others, there's like a whole lot of them. So you've got a tripod. So you can prove what the Bible says about Jesus being there and doing his works via so many things. There's archaeological evidence. Then there's other religions within their text and their affirmations that confirm the same position. That's another tripod. Let's look at BMI, body mass index. Okay, your appearance will say, look at Tinashe, you're overweight. We cannot argue. Okay, let's measure your weight. You're 100. I'm 100, like in 17 kgs or something. And then my height, I'm just 175 centimeters. So I'm definitely like I'm not in order. There's a whole tripod there. Like, so this is sort of like what I'm working with. It's yet to be proven otherwise. But for now, let's use the tripod. And to prove that we're human, there's physical, there's emotional, there's intellectual aspects to it, you know. And when it fails on any one of these scenarios, it becomes inhumane, okay? Whatever your act is or whatever's going on. So this is sort of how we measure. So if people want to measure how healthy you are, they're going to look at your physical aspect. Okay, is this really human? Yes, emotionally stable? Yes. Okay, is it a full box of chocolates up there? You know, or it's lacking somewhere? Does he need some sort of psychiatric whatever? So you see, you know, is he sick? Is it a cough? Yeah, all these things. Is he depressed? Yeah, tripod. But then, being that there's one thing that withstands everything. A truth should be able to, I think it's got, for the risk of many and few things, a truth actually is affected by time. So there's time value on truth. There were certain truths that we had for long-standing time that have been proven with time and with the increase of knowledge, awareness, findings, and so forth, and even understanding, an improved capacity, so to speak, that ceased to be the truth. Like, oh, okay, like back in the day, there were so many reasons why people were dying in theaters, and nobody understood microbiology. Nobody was understanding infection control and all these things, sterilization. So whatever methods were used then, you know, mental health, let's talk about that one. It was for a long time proven that it was some sort of demonic possession. There was a lot of exorcism until psychologists and psychiatrists and surgeons came up. They studied the brain and they realized, no, this is Benga. We should do this. So that truth, in as much as somebody might think it would have helped somebody with a mental challenge or instability, was disproven. And so with time, the value was lost. It's it's that we can then arrive at saying time can actually disqualify how concrete a truth is, because we learn every day and we develop. Kaizen, there's a continuous improvement to humanity. And as a God-fearing man, I would say that, God gave us the logic to discover, and science comes in. It's an amazing thing that proves a lot of things. And with time, we've dispelled certain myths, which are also doubtful truths, if you want to put that, unqualified truths. There's no such thing, And there's more to be proven that's not there. But then there are other constants that we've discovered that are yet not to be proven. Mathematically, because I've got a love for science, you've got things like pi, that number, 3.14, it goes on. There's so many myths about numbers in algebra. There's the theory of relativity, from Einstein. And these are constants that have remained the truth. Whichever way you want to try them, you change, but it remains the truth. It's tried, okay? But then with that, let me also prove time tells something. There's time value to truth is probably equal to time value to money. Like when I started living here in Deutschland, we have a brötchen. This is like some sort of a bun. It used to be 9 cents when I arrived here, and now it's 17. It's 17 cents. And quite frankly, if I had saved $1,000 in 2016, and in 2025, it wouldn't really be $1,000, would it? So it's just the same thing, It has to be tried. So comes in inflation, which is one of the things that makes things untrue. And so the inflation to the truth, other aspects that come around it and devalue it, if it can be devalued, which is why probably it was a challenge to remain on the gold standard. For those who know what I'm talking about, let me just take a sip of my coffee here. So then it can be a manipulated truth, and we're moving to contactless, cashless, Yeah, okay, let me not digress. So, yeah, learning more about this, this then, you want to ask the question, why should you calibrate your truth? Because you can't stay blind, basically it. So whatever it is you believe in, whether it's a business principle, a life principle, a faith principle, I don't know what it is, relationship, it has to be calibrated. It's if you're married like me for a long time, I've known my wife now for about 25 years, but there's always times like this one, what should you be this now? It's that's calibration. It might be something that's just spontaneous, but there's always that thought in your mind. I just got a haircut from my personal hairdresser, who happens to now be my son. And the missus is like, we know. When he gets his haircut, he wants to go out, he wants to look nice. And I'm like, hey, look here, man, I've got a bald patch. If I want to rock a little, bebo on my head, it can't go without an English cut. It has to be finessed a little bit, the compensation. So, so there's always going to be that, You need to calibrate the truth. So to her opinion is like, this dude gets his haircut because he wants to be looking chic out there. Obviously, man, I will show up, man. I'm gonna represent. But that's not the reason why I got my haircut. So yeah, you have to calibrate it because it's at the mercy of time, And like I say, time comes with advancement, clarity, and so forth. Therefore, truth can only remain fact if it can endure the test of time. Married to all the new revelations, knowledge, understanding, available information that was inaccessible. If you talk about people in the Bible, there's so much we're learning now. Now you can't even block the truth. It pops up somewhere, and then someone, no, we're going to concentrate on the actual media. If you look at the CNN and the BBC and something else, they all say they want to say the truth that makes them sleep at night. It's very selective, So, but then with the beauty of today, things pop up. You get new knowledge. It could be misinformation or false information. Then you have to test it, So when you test it, that my truth is solid, So you need to test it, despite what time is dictating. So for your truth to remain a fact, what is my motion here? It's, it has to be substantiated by current correspondence, to prove its past discovery or standing. So it cannot be a past thing that cannot be validated by current evidence or support. You can choose. It is also foolish to discover something new, then automatically disqualify a certain position if you haven't tried it. New information doesn't necessarily mean old information is no longer valid. No, that's now moving from an actual truth to falsehood. Okay, anything that comes in that's new should be able to test or calibrate, if anything, substantiate the truth that's there. So it's just because they didn't do things anyway that way, and then now you've discovered a new way, doesn't mean the old way doesn't work. So you always find that old school sort of comes back. That's why you find fashion always sort of repeats itself and things like this. We're pretty much the same thing, you just have to understand value addition is not disqualification. Okay, so regardless, the truth should be substantiated by current correspondence confirming its past and its actual discovery. Okay, it should be quantifiable. Okay, in some instances tangible or coherent with substance. You should be able to quantify it. And I'm not saying quantifying is there should be substance to it. I know there's a lot of truths that have not yet been confirmed, but there's a lot of truths that want to ignore quantification. And I think with time, certain things are overwhelmed by new discovery and new mechanics. I was arguing this with my Christian comrades. And I was like, you guys say all this stuff because I'm for one of those people where when you look at the story, let me use Jesus again, and what Jesus meant to me, what Jesus meant to my father is two different things. What it took to convince my dad about faith and in God and all these things, and what it took for me to gain the same conviction that there's a God out there that looks out for me, and what it's going to take for my child is different. And I ask people, do you know who Mr. Beast is? In my world, what the beast represents, and to my father, to tell my father, oh, my kids were just watching Mr. Beast, they'll be like, what the hell is going on here? You need to switch off the television. Because it's got a different ringtone to it. So if you're a God-fearing person and you cannot substantiate your position in terms of faith to counter the goodness of Mr. Beast, because he does some good shit, you know what I mean? Oh, sorry. He does some good stuff. And kids look at him and they're like, oh my God, this guy's going to save the world. And then you're going to come there, no, my son, do you accept as your Lord and Savior? It's a bit different. You have to substantiate the position. So try. You have to tripod it. You have to bring a tripod test on it. You've got your Bible. You've got your source. You've got opposing, and to quantify. Let that belief or thing that you believe in withstand time with quantification and recalibration. It should remain current. I mean, like, no, that is heresy. No, there's no such thing. It's the moment you start talking like that means you've got no supporting evidence. Don't delulu yourself. Stand for what you believe in. Quantify it. And I think the truth should be incorruptible by trial or opposing source. You can't. It's grass is grass. Whether you want to say no, we're going to water it with shampoo, grass is grass. It's either going to die, or you then discover, this shampoo has got good vitamins. It's actually good for my grass. Do not shudder or disengage from challenge on your truth. Do not blinker yourself. You run the risk of then running into a greater challenge. And if you don't calibrate your truth on a regular basis, you end up with a hole in it that is so large and overtaken by time and events, it will leave you in doubt of your truth. This is why I find any sort of method or process, it suddenly just dies. They they didn't calibrate. You need to have a research and development aspect to whether it's your life, pretty much your business, or your truths. All the time, you need to, what's going on? What's the position? What's this? And I think this is why, like, I work in quality. This is why we have it. You tell these guys, hey, look here, man, this is not this is less by 5 grams. And when something goes wrong, I'm like, I told you, I've been telling you for a week, this is less by 5 grams. You shouldn't be surprised that we're not getting this complaint, Sort of how it is. Just think of your truth as a whole ecosystem of, you're acquiring something, you're processing it, you're checking it, you're dispatching it, if you have to dispatch it. Okay, so anyway, what are we saying about it? I mean, about the truth, huh? The truth actually can be temporary, and it also can just be an unqualified falsehood. Until you qualify it, you then discover, oh, oops, I was kind of mistaken. But by disqualifying a falsehood, you also learn something new. You then get to a real position of what the truth is, and or it can just be a fact, and facts are forever stubborn. Whatever you do, you try it, it's just the fact, you have to stubborn it, if that's even correct English, So how true is your truth? Whatever your truth is, be sure it's nothing more than just true lies.